Welcome. If you are a thought leader, podcaster, and/or entrepreneur, this live episode, podcast, and/or live stream is just for you and you and you. What we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about why action pays off. I'm your host. Welcome to the Failures Knowledge Podcast. My name is Terryl Humphrey, and today we're going to talk about why action pays off. And if you're not taking action, maybe you're not seeing the payoff from the action that you're taking. So let's go ahead and get it started. Get your notebook, get your pen, get your notebook, because today we are talking about why action pays off. First thing first, you have to actually do the work. Oh, no, not even do the work. Do something. Okay, you have to do something. So 2 days ago, I actually started a 90-day challenge to grow a podcast production business. And throughout this time, I'm actually learning like how to take action consistently. And this me going live, me doing the podcast every single day is me taking action. Nonetheless, it's one piece of the puzzle. As I take action, I'm literally learning how to build a business. I go to different mentors. I receive different information. I get educated on the business that I'm looking to grow. Why is it important? Action pays off because action has to be taken. Okay. When you take action, the payoff will eventually lead to something, right? Lead to something. It can either be towards money, it can either be towards education, it can either be towards gaining knowledge, it can either be failing or learning or turning that failure into knowledge. Why is it important? Okay. That's important because if you take action consistently, the action that you're taking consistently will eventually pay off. My biggest struggle when I started half a decade was that I was trying to figure out what business that I was in. In fact, I didn't even know I was in the business. I just picked up my phone. I picked up a small tripod that wasn't even like eye level, like it's eye level now. I literally picked up my phone, started recording, and when I started recording, I started to learn. What did I learn? I learned the skill of marketing myself. What did I learn? I learned the skill of communication. What else did I learn? I learned the skill of consistency. The 894 podcast episodes later, I literally learned how to podcast. I literally learned how to ask questions. I literally learned a skill that will stay with me forever. Here's the thing that was so surprising to me. I had a mentorship conversation yesterday. And it wasn't even, prior to that conversation, it wasn't even a session or a conversation. It was the fact that one of my buddies said something because he's good at sales. He said something, but I'm like, wait, that's a form of sales? Like, I didn't even know that. He was like, for someone who asks a lot of questions, they are good at sales. And I was like, really? Wait, I'm like, hold on. You just have to ask questions in sales? Like It didn't resonate with me because I don't know why it didn't resonate with me. However, when he said, I said, man, you just taught me so. He said, what'd I teach you? I said, man, you just taught me something about sales. Like you really taught me the most important thing when it comes to sales. Now, mind you, I've heard this multiple different times. But yesterday, when I heard it, it literally like, bing, oh, that makes sense. Hold on. Why is that connected? Nah, we don't need that connected. All right, cool. That's cool. All right, cool. I don't know when my phone just connected. Just make sure. Mic check. Can you hear me? Mic check 1 2 1 2. It looks like it's live. And so when he said that sales is about asking questions, you have to be curious around the problem that you solve. And so I'm like, man, I'm curious. I got a podcast. When people come on to my platform, all I'm doing is just asking questions. I'm learning about their story. I'm learning from their perspective. Excuse me. That's a form of selling. Yet I didn't recognize I was selling. I just thought I was asking questions. I just thought I was curious. I just thought I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn this person's story. In addition to that, as I'm learning this person's story, I'm literally selling myself. Because I'm asking questions. If you listen to the Phase Knowledge podcast, you will hear the depth of the questions that I'm asking, because I want to know what your thought process is. I want to know your struggles that you've been through. I want to know your failures. Why? Because there's a journey that everyone has to go through. And when you go through the journey, you are really learning more about yourself. In business, when you take action consistently, you are really doing the work. Okay. So when you do the work has to be simple. It has to be simple, because if the work is complicated, overwhelming, you never know the problem that you can solve unless you recognize how simple it can become. I give you a prime example. When I got into business, when I officially got into business 894 podcasts later, I literally got into business because I wanted to learn how to make the podcast a business, because I didn't know it could be a business. So as I'm going to different places, speaking to different people, they always ask me, like, how do you monetize? I'm like, man, I'm trying to figure that out now. I'm trying to figure that out now. You tell me how to monetize it, and I'll try it, and I'll come back to you. What I learned during that time is that, yes, I even did a podcast a while ago that was like, a lot of people know the skill, but they are not good business owners, which, in other words, they're not good at making money for the skill that they develop. In addition to that, when I started to develop the skill, I'm like, all right, cool. Now I need to learn about business. That's when I started going to school. I started going to business programs and just really trying to learn the language of business, how to conduct business. As I started to do that, I started to see a shift. Okay. The shift that I recognized within myself was that when I get educated, as I get educated, the skill is developed, and these steps are established. And what does that mean? It's kind of like a revolving cycle. Like this right here is called a cycle. You have to get educated. You have to have skills develop. I thought they said relevant. I'm like, God, I can't even read my own handwriting. I digress. You have to get educated. Then skills are developed. Oh, skills are developed. Not skills is developed. Skills are developed. The steps are established. And what does this mean? That means, hold on. Pressing too many buttons. Hold on. There we go. All right. That means the more you develop a skill, the more you understand the steps that goes into the skill. When you focus on the skill, the action that you are taking for the skill to be developed, you have to be educated on how to go about selling it, how to go about marketing it, how to go about pushing it out there. When you push the skill out there, people are going to say, I want to learn more about this skill. In the podcast production space, what I'm in is literally learning how to podcast, but it's not just about pressing a button. It's literally doing it consistently. What value are you going to bring? How are you going to educate your audience? What do you want to teach? What do you want them to leave away with? It's not the fact that you're a person recording. It's literally you're making a difference for people's life. Why? Because you're educating them on something that you developed a skill within. And when I started to recognize, I'm like, hold on. You're telling me when I learn a skill, I teach the skill. When I teach the skill, I have to gain the action, like I have to gain the results from it. And when I do this, I'm able to literally talk about my experience. Oh, wait, hold on. Marketing, selling, promotion, all these different things is a form of storytelling. Stories is what makes a difference. Stories, hold on, let me make sure this is the one. Oh, that ain't the right one. Hold on. Stories ourselves. Hold on. I didn't even know that page was blank. All right, here we go. All right. Stories. Come on, man. Stop doing that. Why did it keep doing that? I don't know. But anywho, all right. Action. pays off. Stories. Hello, golly. Hold on. Stories are the selling point. Selling point. And my biggest challenge was, man, like, why are stories important? If you go, like, hold on. I'm about to age myself now. Hold on. If you remember back in the day, there was a little CDs and it was called the Red Box. I think it was called Red Box or something like that. And when you have the movies, right? You have the movies and you have little CDs, and this is called like movie. Let's just say whatever movie you like, let's just say this is the movie. You rent this movie. And then when you go back and finish it, you return the movie in a box. I'm going to put return. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called like Red Box or something like that. It's literally when they had it in front of McDonald's. When you go purchase a DVD and you rent it out and you go watch it, you're watching the story. Okay, hold on. You're watching a story. This movie, this CD is a film on it, and the film that's on it is literally telling a story. I remember watching so many different movies on so many different CDs, and it got to a point where we had so many different movies to the point where we had a lot of different CDs. And it's like, my wife and I went to Disney one day. And they talk a lot about content, and they were showing the behind the scenes. And just like in the Red Box, they had the CD where you can literally buy the disc and go watch it and then return it. Disney has the content to the point where you can watch it, you can build the fandom, like you can grow up, become a fan of them. In addition to that, you start to be involved with everything that they're doing. Why? The story is what makes a difference. The story is what sells. The story is what makes the connection. The story is what people come back to. It's through video, it's through content, it's through marketing, it's through all these different things. Storytelling is the telling of the action. And if you don't have a story to tell, you haven't taken enough action. That was my biggest challenge, trying to figure out what business I was in. It was understanding that you have to continue to take action, get educated, go seek mentors, go work with people, go learn business. And as I did that, I started to get more educated. Now that I'm educated, back to the cycle that I was speaking about earlier, when you are educated, it's right here. When you are educated, the skills that you are developing or that you are looking to work with are improved based off your education. When you get educated, your skills are developed. When your skills are developed, the steps are established. In other words, your business, okay, let's just put it in business terminology, okay? So when you have a business idea, you have to act on that idea. And when you act on that idea, you have to receive feedback. Why? Because it's a cycle of business. It's a cycle of business. I read this book. It was the E-Myth Revisited. And they speak about how when a technician is the person who knows the skill. When a technician becomes an entrepreneur or manager, the manager is managing the steps that's already been in place. When you identify the steps that are in place for you, you are taking action consistently. Action pays off because you are documenting your process. Let me come back to the screen. Action pays off because you are literally doing the work. Action pays off because you are literally structuring everything that you need to do. This is really about to be annoying. Why does it keep doing that? Golly, like, why does it keep doing that? My microphone keep connecting to my phone. I'm like, why I keep doing that? I digress. Anywho, when action pays off, action is the result of the work that you're doing. When you are educated, you are learning. When you are learning, you are doing. When you are doing, you are executing. You have to be the one to execute on the action that you like to learn in order for you to develop the skill for your business. Podcast production is more than just a conversation. Whole time over the last half a decade, I literally thought podcast was like the business. It's part of the business. It's not the entire business. It's part of the business. And so recently what I started doing, I recently started showing the behind the scenes. Like, what does it take to grow a successful podcast and have a podcast production business? I don't have a successful podcast production business yet. Nonetheless, I'm working towards that. It's the moments like this that makes a difference. When you make it pay off, you're doing the work. Showing up every day is challenging. Showing up every day is overwhelming. Showing up every day when you don't know nothing's going to come from this, you have to show up even when you have doubt. Because when you have doubt, you will eventually build the skill. You will eventually build the education. You will eventually build the know-how. You have to learn how to develop the steps, because the steps only come from taking action. Okay. Hold on. See, the reason why that's so important is because when you do something, you're figuring it out. Like, you have to figure out what you are doing in order for you to do it consistently. As you figure it out, you are learning to build the skill. The next point I want to hit on, is to document. I spoke about this a while ago in one of my most recent podcasts. But the point number 2 is to document the skills. You see, when you document the skills, you are paying, attention to the action. Action in parentheses work. When I started to really pay attention to what business I was in, and when people come to the podcast, I get feedback. I ask for feedback. I'm communicating with different people. And throughout that time, I'm literally identifying what's working, what's not working, what can be improved, and why can it be improved. I literally remember I was about to do this podcast with one of my buddies. He's a former Marine, Simplify. And when I was about to do the podcast with him, he received so many different notifications. I think I set up like maybe 5 different notifications. I think I set up 5 reminders. It was a lot. It was a lot. I think I set up 5 reminders. And throughout that time, I'm like, man, I think it's working. You know what I mean? I think it's working. But the feedback that I received, said that was too much. It's too much. And let me tell you how he said it. Hold on. Let me tell you how he said it. Look, he was like, with all due respect, bro. He said, man, you sending me too many messages. Man, I stopped what I was doing. I looked at the reminders, and I'm like, wow, that's actually a lot. That's my bad. I said, man, listen, I didn't even know it did that. I'm working on it now, man. Forgive me for the inconvenience. Man, I felt so ashamed. I felt so overwhelmed. I felt so embarrassed. I'm like, man, how did I do that? I'm focused on setting up the steps, yet the steps that I was setting up was too many. But the steps were set up. The reminders were sent. The follow-up was sent. So it's working. It might be working too good. On the contrary, it's working. When it's working, you're documenting the steps. When you document the steps, you do the steps consistently over and over and over again. Why? It goes back to the cycle that we was talking about earlier. It's literally, hold on, there we go. Let me just go to, all right, there we go. Bro, stop doing that. I don't know why I keep doing that. All right, so it goes back to the cycle that we was talking about. You could put anything in the blanks, and throughout these blanks is literally a cycle of growth. And when you are growing, you are becoming a better business owner. There's a cycle that goes on. I'm gonna put on the side over here. Cycle. There's a cycle that goes on. There's a cycle that matters. Reason why? Because when you do something over and over and over again, that means you are developing the steps. That means you are developing the process. That means you have executed the plan. In fact, there's a book over here I need to read because I think I just understood the cycle of what they was talking about. That's crazy. I digress. That cycle doesn't end unless you stop taking action. It was working. When I tell you it was working, because I got the feedback saying, hey man, that's too much reminders. I don't need to be reminded that much. The fact that he reached out and said that's too much, when it was working, I was like, man, that's what I was looking for. Maybe not the too much part, but it's working part. It's you getting the reminders, you're getting the notifications, you're getting the information that you need to receive in order to be prepared for the Failures Knowledge podcast. Why? Because when you have a podcast production business, you have to document the steps that you're doing for your business to be consistent. As I started to document the steps became seamlessly because I don't have to think about it no more. I literally have a notebook right here, and when I'm about to edit a video, I follow the steps. I follow the steps because the steps has already been aligned. In business, when you align your steps, you are aligning your business. There's a cycle that goes on. That cycle doesn't stop because you are growing, you are developing, you are becoming better. As you become better, you are the one that's developing the business. You see, documentation is not just saying I'm going to record this. Documentation is not just saying I'm going to write this down. Documentation is not just saying I'm going to say this for later. Documentation is literally saying I'm going to document this moment so I can refer back to it, because it goes back to the cycle that it never ends, because you're always going. Yet if you don't document what's working would always be customized. Hold on. Customization in business, what I learned, customization is overwhelming, because for every guest, every customer that comes into your world, you will have to tailor to their needs. In reality, I'm like, how do you tailor to their needs? How do you tailor to everyone's needs? Because the steps are not documented. The steps are not, the steps haven't been identified. Nor is anyone following the steps. And I'm like, hold on. That gave me a sense of relief. Why? Because it was something that I was looking to discover. Documentation is the process of your business that your business needs to develop so it can be consistent. So whenever somebody come onto the Failures Knowledge podcast, we have a discovery call. Hold on. Let's go back to the cycle right quick. Hold on. Let's go back to the cycle. So whenever someone reaches out to be on the Failures Knowledge podcast, this is the cycle that we go through. Introduction / discovery call. Discovery call. And then we have podcast. Hold on. No. That's wrong. Hold on. That's wrong right quick. Hold on. Let me rewrite this. All right, so cool. So you have the introduction. So I can meet you via online, in person, at your event, location, whatever case is. Then we have the discovery call. Then we have the podcast. And what I'm about to start doing now is just following up with updates. And we go back to the introduction. If I do this for every podcast guest on The Phase Knowledge Podcast, the system has been developed. Where have I meet this person? Where did I meet this person at? Okay, did we do the discovery call? Okay, did we complete the podcast? Am I following up with them consistently to share results and data? Excuse me. What this is doing, hold on. What this is doing is that I'm literally documenting what's working and what's not working. If I meet you and we skip steps, I'm not following the system. If I meet you and we go all the way to the end of sending data information, I'm not following the system. If I meet you and the cycle is broken because it's not continually moving, then it has to be a way to, I had to figure it out how to do it more effectively. So whenever I meet someone, hey, pleasure to meet you, great event. Let's jump on a discovery call. You tell me more about your business, I'll tell you more about The Phase Knowledge Podcast and what to expect. In addition to that, right after that, we would do the podcast. Once it's scheduled, you will receive within a week the entire conversation, but within 7 days, you receive a podcast trailer. After that, what I'm actually about to start doing for everyone who comes on to the podcast is just send out monthly or bi-monthly updates. Let me tell you something. Hold on. The cycle is the focus that I have to focus on, that I have to pay attention to if I want to have a successful podcast production business. And whenever I start selling, as I'm starting to sell, it has to be the same process. Like it can't be broken. It can't be. The only way if it's broken if I'm not taking the right action. You see, now when it's time to sell what I have to offer, now you have the same thing. Let's just say you have the introduction. And you have the introduction via, I'm putting in parentheses, at social media. Speaking engagement. Engagement. And or podcast. And or oh man. And or podcast. I wish this would stop connecting. I don't know why that's connecting. Okay. Then, right after that, we have a webinar. And this is the online training. And right after that, we have a podcast strategy call. And then right after that, we have sales podcast strategy call. Then we have follow up follow up. Follow up. Okay. This seems like a lot. Hold on, let me rewrite this. That seems like a lot. But I like how this is going. This seems like a lot. Hold on. Let me rewrite that. That seems like a lot. They don't even see. They don't even make. Okay. Introduction. And then I have the webinar. Just to keep it simple. Webinar. Then I have podcast strategy call. Then I have follow up. Depending on if they become customers or if they don't become customers, I still have to follow up with them. Okay. This right here is what I was looking for this entire time I was doing business. but I didn't have the words for it. I didn't have the know-how for it. And this is what I needed to have in order to have a business. And so everything that you do, there's a cycle behind it. But the cycle comes from documentation. Documentation creates a system. The system is repeatable. In business, you have to have a thing. You have to have a skill. You have to have a process that's repeatable. That was my biggest challenge, is that I was trying to figure out what's repeatable, what's working, what's not working. So if I do the same thing for the podcast, for the webinar, to attract more customers, to make more revenue, why would I not be successful? I'm literally showing how to have a podcast and helping podcasters grow their audience through my podcast production company. That right there is what I was looking for, because that right there is what makes a difference. Having the know-how makes a difference. That's the last thing I want to talk about today. Hold on. What's going on, bro? Appreciate you for coming in. Last thing we're going to talk about, point number 3. What did I say? Is document. Oh, you have to follow up consistently. So when you follow up consistently, bingo. When you follow up consistently, you are literally repeating the cycle, repeating the system. When you develop the system is the blueprint that you are looking for, so it can be repeatable, so it can be consistent, so it can be follow the same steps. When I started to recognize, like, hold on, man, I'm getting people to come onto the podcast. Some people have canceled. I got to look at the numbers to see how many people have canceled. Some people have actually attended the podcast. Some people have to reschedule. But they're receiving the notifications. They're showing up. I'm doing the research. We're having a conversation. It get posted. But it doesn't stop at the posting. Oh, what if whenever I start having customers, what if I just follow the same process? What if I just follow the same process with the process that's already been established? It's not the fact that the process is not working. It's the fact that I was trying to learn what process I was creating. Okay. When you follow up consistently, you are following a blueprint. When you follow up consistently, you are following, let's just say this is a map. Point over here to map. And I want to get to point A. I'm at point B, but through the path, it's not going to be a straight line, because there are going to be so many obstacles that I will have to go through in order to get to point number A, because I have to go and learn and grow and get educated. But before I get to point number A, I still have to figure out everything that I'm doing. As I figure out everything that I'm doing, I have to go through the maze of getting to point A. You see, point A might seem like it's simple. Point A might seem like it's easy. Point A might seem like it's doable, but point A is challenging, because you have to go through the trenches. You have to go through the path. You have to get educated. You have to learn. You have to be consistent. You have to do so many different things. In addition to that, when you are positioning yourself differently, you are learning how to have a business. You see, this right here is called a map, because you're not going to get to your location. You're not going to get to your destination as fast as you would like to. Check this out. When you are consistent with the action that you are doing, the work that you are doing will eventually pay off for you to have a successful business. You see, getting to point A is the challenge, but starting at point B is overwhelming, because how do you launch your podcast? How do you edit your podcast? How do you manage your podcast? You see, all these different things has to be in consideration, because when you look at the map, when you put the location in your GPS and the GPS says it's going to take you 45, 60 minutes to get there, are you following the path that the map had created for you? In other words, are you following these steps for your business to go to point A? To go to point B to point A. Why? Because you have to be okay with the process. Documentation is so important because you never know what you're doing until you document how to do it. When I start to document everything changed because I'm no longer guessing. It's no longer customized. It might feel like it's customized, yet I'm literally following the blueprint. The name is different, yet the system is the same. The name is different, yet the system is the same. It's the system that creates the cycle. Hold on. It's the system that creates results. It's the system that I was missing when I got into business. You see this right here, let's just call this the system. Let's just call this right here action. Let's just call this right here feedback. Let's just call this right here results. There's a cycle that's ever evolving because you are ever evolving. Hold on. When you evolve, you grow. When you grow, you develop. When you develop, you create the steps that your business needs to follow in order for you to be successful. Hold on. When I started to recognize that business has to follow the steps has to be consistent. The business has to be consistent. When I really start understanding more about business, I wonder if McDonald's, like all the different McDonald's is here, I wonder if they make the same burger, the same way, the exact same time, every single time. And I'm going to do that because I remember it, but I don't remember it like that, like I need to. Nonetheless, I'm going to go to like maybe 3 to 5 different McDonald's and I'm going to order the same exact thing. Burger, what I used to get. McDouble with fries, with medium fries. And I'm going to see if they do it the exact same way for different locations. It's not the fact that the system is not working. It's that you are not working your system. It's the fact that you are not working your system. When you work your system, the system is a cycle. Because now, hold on, let me come back to it. You got the system, then you take action, then you get feedback, and then you get results. Action pays off because the more you follow the process, the more you follow the steps, the more results you receive. But it's following the system that create consistent results. It's following the system that create the system, the consistent steps to follow. It's following the system that create the consistent results. When you understand the business that you're in, you have to document everything that you're doing. So in conclusion, what we just talked about is that action pays off. It pays off because stories are the selling point. Oh, no. Action pays off because it's right here. You have to do something. Either when you do something, you're learning the skill, you're getting educated, and or you're learning more about what you're doing. That can either create money, you can help you get educated, and just have results for yourself. The next thing that we talked about is that you have to document the skills and pay attention to what's working. Like you have to literally pay attention to what's working and what's not working for your business so that way you can do it more consistently. I learned to pay attention to what's working and just to repeat what's working for different things that I'm doing. Because if it's working once, it can work twice. If it's working twice, it can work 3 times. If it's working 3 times, it can literally keep working. So I have to continue the cycle of identifying what the system is. The last thing that we talked about is that you have to follow up consistently. When you are on your map, when you're on your journey, you can start at point number B, but if you want to get to point A, it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a process. But when you follow up, when you're consistent, when you're constantly showing up, you're following the system. The system takes action, you receive feedback, and get results. You never know where you're going to be until you take action, but the action that you're taking will eventually pay off. Not overnight, yet over time. And over time, you'll be a better business owner. Let me know in the comments your biggest takeaway on why action pays off. And I love to read it, love to engage with you all. And you never know where that failure is going to lead you. So don't be afraid to fail because failure is knowledge. I appreciate y'all. Hit that follow button, hit that subscribe. And then I'll see y'all in the next video.